On live national television, the calm, collected Barack Obama stepped onto the stage and quietly dismantled Ivanka Trump in ways no one saw coming, exposing the polished Trump heiress as nothing more than a desperate defender of family privilege, her flawless composure cracking wide open as he laid bare the painful truth she had spent years trying to hide. The Grand Hall in Washington, D.C. was electric that night. Thousands of seats were filled, cameras lined every aisle, and the air felt thick with anticipation. Then the side doors opened. Barack Obama walked in first. No big gestures, no wave to the crowd. He just moved with that calm, steady stride, smiling politely at the moderator and shaking his hand. A few moments later, Ivanka Trump entered from the opposite side. She looked sharp and confident in her tailored suit, chin up, smile ready for the flashes. But as she crossed the stage, her eyes flicked quickly toward Obama. For a split second, something tightened in her face. She gripped her notes a little harder than necessary, the papers crinkling softly in her hand. She gave a quick wave to the audience and took her seat, legs crossed, back straight, ready for battle. Before anyone could settle in, the moderator raised his hand. "We have a special edition tonight to ground us in reality," he said. The big screen switched to a live video feed. An elderly woman appeared, 78 years old, sitting in a small, dimly lit apartment. She was a former factory worker from Ohio, her hands still showing years of hard labor. "Hi, everyone," she said, voice a little shaky but clear. "My name's Margaret. I worked 42 years making parts for cars. Paid my taxes, raised 2 kids. Now I'm choosing between my heart medication and keeping the lights on this month. Rent went up again. I love my country, but I'm scared. What am I supposed to do?" The entire hall went dead silent. No coughing, no shifting in seats. Just heavy, uncomfortable quiet. Obama nodded slowly, his face serious and respectful. Ivanka kept her practiced smile, but it looked forced now, the corners of her mouth tight. The moderator thanked Margaret, and the screen faded. The tension in the room had already jumped 10 levels. "All right," he said, voice firm. "We have 2 very different perspectives here tonight. Former President Barack Obama and Ivanka Trump. Let's begin." Obama and Ivanka stood and stepped toward each other at the center of the stage. They extended their hands. The handshake was brief, polite on the surface, but the moment their palms met, the air felt thicker. Neither spoke. Their eyes locked for just a second longer than necessary. The moderator nodded toward Ivanka. "Ms. Trump, you have the first opening statement." Ivanka leaned forward, her voice smooth and confident, like she had practiced this 100 times. "Thank you. Caring for our seniors starts with strong families and strong communities, not more government handouts. That's what we believe in. My father's administration proved that a booming economy lifts everyone, including our elders. We created millions of jobs, cut taxes, and gave families the power to take care of their own. We don't believe in creating dependence. We believe in dignity through opportunity. When the economy is healthy, seniors can live with pride instead of waiting on Washington for every check." She spoke clearly, her words polished, but something about it felt distant, like she was reading from a script. The audience listened politely, a few nods here and there, but no real spark. Obama waited a moment, then began speaking in that calm, steady way of his. "Ivanka made some good points about families. We all agree those matter. But let me tell you about someone I met last year. His name was Robert, 82 years old, spent 35 years building bridges and highways across the Midwest. Served in Vietnam. Now he's choosing between paying his electric bill and buying insulin. He told me, 'Mr. President, I worked my whole life so I wouldn't be a burden, but every month I have to decide which one I can survive without.'" Obama paused right there. He didn't rush. The silence in the hall grew heavy as people pictured Robert sitting in the dark, rationing his medicine. No one coughed. No one moved. Obama's eyes swept across the crowd, letting the weight of that story settle in. Ivanka jumped back in quickly. With all due respect, the numbers tell a different story. Under my father's leadership, unemployment hit record lows, wages rose for working Americans, and senior poverty dropped. We passed historic tax reform that put more money back in people's pockets. That's real help, not empty promises. She rattled off more statistics, sounding sure of herself, but the numbers hung in the air without much feeling behind them. Obama listened, then replied without raising his voice. Those numbers look good on paper, Ivanka, but seniors don't eat numbers. They can't pay rent with percentages. They need medicine that doesn't cost a fortune and a system that actually works for them when they need it most. A ripple moved through the crowd. Then the clapping started. Not the polite golf clap stuff. This was scattered at first, then stronger in pockets across the hall. People were nodding, some leaning forward. Ivanka's smile stayed in place, but her fingers tightened on the arm of her chair just a little. The moderator turned back to Ivanka. Ms. Trump, your response on the role of government versus private solutions? Ivanka leaned in, her voice sharper now, more aggressive. Government isn't the answer here. The private sector innovates faster than any bureaucracy in Washington ever could. We've seen it. Under my father's leadership, businesses created new ways to deliver care, new technologies, and better options for seniors. Throwing more taxpayer money at broken systems only creates dependence. Real solutions come from competition and freedom, not endless government programs. She spoke with confidence, hitting every talking point cleanly, but the words felt cold in the big hall, like they belonged in a boardroom, not in a conversation about people struggling to survive. Obama sat quietly for a moment, then shook his head slightly. I respect the idea of innovation, Ivanka, but let's talk about what's actually happening. Medicare has been chipped away and underfunded in recent years. Seniors are paying more out of pocket while coverage shrinks. That's not theory. That's the reality families are living every single day. Ivanka started to reply, but Obama raised his hand gently and nodded toward the big screen behind them. Let me show you something real. The screen lit up with a clear, simple chart. The line showed insulin prices. They had nearly doubled during the Trump administration. The numbers were big, impossible to ignore. A low murmur swept through the audience. Ivanka's eyes widened for a split second. She shifted in her seat, clearly caught off guard. Then she recovered fast. That chart is misleading, she said quickly. Those are fake news numbers pushed by opponents. The real story is the progress we made in lowering drug costs through negotiation and market forces. Her voice stayed steady, but the quick defense made it obvious the chart had hit a nerve. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some whispered, others stared hard at the numbers still glowing on the screen. Obama didn't push the chart further. Instead, he leaned forward and spoke in that low, steady voice. Let me tell you about another person I met. Her name is Carla. She's 65, a nurse who still works double shifts in a hospital in Pennsylvania. She does it so she can pay for her mother's cancer treatments and daily care. Even with that, she's barely keeping up. She told me some nights she cries in her car before going inside because she's so exhausted. This isn't rare. This is happening right now across the country. The hall grew quieter. People were leaning in, faces tight with the story. Ivanka cut in sharply before he could finish. That's a personal issue, not a policy failure. We can't make government responsible for every family's individual situation. The words landed hard. Several people in the front row shook their heads. Obama looked directly at her, calm but intense. If that was your mother, Ivanka, if it was your own mother working those double shifts and still falling short, would you still call it just a personal issue and nothing more? The question hit like a punch. Ivanka froze. Cameras stayed locked on her face as her smile faded and her jaw tightened. The audience sat completely still, waiting, the tension so thick it felt like the air itself had stopped moving. The moderator tried to steer things back to policy, but Ivanka wasn't having it. She leaned forward, eyes narrowed, her voice losing that smooth polish and turning sharper, almost angry. You keep talking about compassion, Mr. Obama, but let's be honest. Under your administration, healthcare costs skyrocketed. Premiums went through the roof. Seniors were left behind while you focused on other priorities. Now you sit here acting like some moral authority. Where was all that compassion when people were struggling back then? Her tone had bite now. The words came faster, more aggressive, like she had finally decided to stop playing nice. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some murmured, others stared, waiting to see how Obama would respond. Obama didn't flinch. He listened quietly, then gave a small, sad smile. But before he could speak, Ivanka kept going, her voice rising. Maybe we should start with some real honesty about responsibility, or even identity. After all, a lot of Americans still have questions about where you really came from and whether you truly understood the heart of this country. The hall erupted in a loud collective gasp. A few people audibly sucked in their breath. Whispers broke out instantly across the rows. The birther attack had been thrown out in the open right there on national television. Cameras swung between the two of them, capturing every reaction. Obama sat back for a second, then shook his head slowly. He wasn't angry. He looked almost disappointed, like a teacher watching a smart student make a bad choice. When logic runs out, Ivanka, people usually reach for insults. That's nothing new. But let me ask you something straight. Do you actually believe everything you're saying up here? Or are you just protecting your family name and your father's record? The question landed heavy. Obama's voice stayed calm and even, but it cut deep. He looked her right in the eyes. No hostility, just quiet challenge. The entire room seemed to hold its breath again. Ivanka's face changed. Her cheeks flushed. For the first time all night, her polished control started to crack. She jabbed a finger slightly toward him, her voice rising with real emotion. "You have no right to question my family. None." Her words came out sharper than she probably intended, with a slight tremble at the end. The camera zoomed in tight on her face, catching the flash of anger and the way her eyes widened. For a split second, the composed businesswoman and presidential daughter disappeared. In her place was someone clearly rattled, breathing harder, struggling to keep her mask on straight. The audience reacted with a wave of murmurs and scattered applause. Some people clapped for Obama's calm response. Others looked stunned by how personal things had suddenly gotten. The moderator looked nervous, sensing the debate was slipping into dangerous territory. "Before we go further," Obama said calmly, "I want everyone to hear from someone who actually worked inside the system we're talking about." The big screen came to life again. This time it was a pre-recorded video of an older man, probably in his late 70s, sitting in a modest living room. He identified himself as a former mid-level employee at the Trump organization for over a decade. His voice was steady but tired. "I saw the tax policies up close," he said. "They help the wealthy and big corporations, but they came with cuts to Medicare and support programs for regular seniors. I'm one of those seniors now. My benefits got squeezed while the people at the top got richer. We deserve better than this." The video ended. The hall exploded with loud murmurs and shocked gasps. Ivanka's face went pale. She sat up straight, eyes wide with panic. "Turn that off," she demanded sharply, voice rising. "That's not verified. This is unfair ambush tactics. Shut it down right now." Her usual composure was gone. She gestured urgently toward the control booth, clearly rattled that the testimony had come from someone connected to her father's own world. The audience buzzed louder. Some people clapped, others leaned forward, fully locked in. Obama waited for the noise to settle a bit, then looked directly at Ivanka. His voice stayed low and controlled, but every word carried weight. "You always talk about empowering families, Ivanka. That's your big line. So tell me this. Why are you standing here on this stage fighting for the spotlight instead of being with your father when he needs support? Is family power only one direction? You demand loyalty from everyone else, but where's yours when it matters most?" The twist hit the room like a slap. Gasps rippled through the crowd. It wasn't just policy anymore. Obama had gone straight for the heart of her family loyalty, and the question hung heavy in the air. Cameras zoomed in tight on both of them. Ivanka's face flushed red. She slammed her hand lightly on the table and fired back, voice getting louder and more emotional. "You're just good at talking, Obama. That's all you've ever been. Smooth words and no real results. My father saved the economy you destroyed. He brought back jobs and strength while your policies left seniors and working people behind. That's the real truth." Her words came out fast and sharp, but her voice started cracking toward the end. The rehearsed confidence was slipping. She sounded desperate now, breathing harder as she tried to regain control. Obama didn't raise his voice. He slowly rose from his chair, just enough to stand with quiet authority. The entire hall went silent again, waiting. His eyes stayed locked on hers, calm but sharp as a blade. "Leadership isn't about who talks louder or throws the meanest insults, Ivanka. It's about having the courage to look straight at the pain of our elderly, the ones who built this country, and tell the truth about it. Not hide behind numbers or family names. Do you dare to do that? Right here, right now, can you look these people in the eye and face the real struggles without deflecting?" The question cut through the tension like a knife. For several long seconds, Ivanka sat completely still, mouth slightly open, no words coming out. It was the first time all night she had nothing to say. Her eyes flicked around the room, searching for a response that wouldn't come. Then the audience rose as one. Thunderous applause erupted, loud, sustained, and emotional. People clapped hard, some cheering, many nodding in agreement. The sound filled the massive hall and seemed to shake the walls. Obama remained standing, calm and steady, while Ivanka stayed frozen in her seat, face tight, completely silent. The tension in the hall was electric as Ivanka made one final push. She leaned forward, eyes flashing with defiance, and delivered her sharpest line of the night. "You're just the past, Mr. Obama," she said, voice loud and cutting. "An old voice trying to stay relevant while the country has moved on. My family is building the future. Your history." A few scattered cheers came from her supporters, but most of the room stayed quiet, waiting. Obama nodded slowly, almost gently, with no anger on his face. "My past is simple, Ivanka. I tried to make healthcare more affordable, to protect seniors, to move the country forward even when it was hard. The question is, what will your future be? What will people say about the choices you made when it was your turn to lead?" His words landed with quiet force. Ivanka opened her mouth, but nothing came out right away. Obama turned away from her and faced the audience and the cameras directly. His voice stayed calm, but it carried through the entire hall like a final statement. "We don't measure this country by GDP numbers or stock market gains. We measure it by how we treat the people who no longer have the strength to fight for themselves. The elderly, the veterans, the ones who built everything we have. That's the real test." He paused, letting the words sink in, then looked straight at Ivanka. "And today, right here, which choice did you make?" The hall fell into a heavy silence. No one moved. Then the applause started. Slow at first, then building into a powerful, steady roar. People rose to their feet across the entire room. It wasn't wild cheering or screaming. It was deep, respectful applause that showed they had witnessed something real. Obama gave a small nod to the moderator. "Thank you for hosting tonight." He turned slightly toward Ivanka and gave her a single calm nod. No smirk, no victory lap, just basic respect. Then he buttoned his jacket, stepped down from the stage, and walked steadily toward the exit. The applause grew even louder as he left. Many in the crowd stayed standing, clapping hard, some wiping their eyes. The sound followed him all the way out. The cameras swung back to Ivanka. She sat alone under the bright lights, completely still. Her confident smile had vanished. Her face looked tired, shaken, and exposed. For the first time all night, she had no words, no quick comeback, no polished expression left. She just sat there, staring at the empty space where Obama had been. The big screen behind her faded to black, then displayed one simple line of white text. The question isn't who won the debate. The question is, how will we care for our elders? The applause continued rolling through the hall as the lights slowly dimmed. The night was over, but the weight of what happened would stay with everyone watching for a long time.